Console online. HPG connection online. Educational module online. All systems nominal.
Hello, class, and welcome to On the Origin of BattleMechs podcast, episode 100. I am your host, Brent Stewart. My co-hosts today are...
I'm Chandler.
And I'm Derek.
And I'm Joshua. Hey, everybody.
Hey, returning for episode 100, one of our founding members coming back, because how could we not have you back for episode 100, right?
Yeah. Also, really excited. I played Alpha Strike 2 weeks ago, and I just got back from a 20-person Battletech Tamar campaign game today.
Nice.
So I'm finally getting my Battletechs in.
Must be nice to actually be able to move some plastic around on the table for a change after all the months of Megamech, right?
Yeah, and I actually had some pewter. I know, shocker, but Grey Death Battle Armor doesn't come in plastic yet, so...
Minis of some variety.
We only got one kind in plastic.
Yeah, it was awesome. I think the official count was 19 with the GM, 10 people playing on the campaign player side, and then 8 people showed up to play Op4, including at least 2 brand new people.
Nice.
I got to run a mech I've been really interested in trying out, the Black Hawk KU, so the Inner Sphere version, OG variant. Tag, Bloodhound, Angel, Stubnose PPC, 3 medium X pulses, 585. And it was really fortuitous because the second part of the mission today was to scan the unknown mechs, and that Bloodhound active probe let me do it out to 8 hexes, and I could make attacks while scanning. Otherwise, if you didn't have an active probe, you had to get within 2 hexes and not shoot at all. So...
Bold of you to use those rules on the tabletop. I would categorize that as a Megamech only rule, but that's just me.
Well, it was the GM's idea.
I mean, that one's one that isn't implemented in Megamech anyway. That's just one that's like, yes, I'm within this X hexes. I am scanning. It's all verbal at that point. It's not any sort of mechanic.
And the best part was my Grey Death Battle Armor has an active probe as well. Otherwise, they're infantry, so they wouldn't be able to scan. And I managed to get them within their 2 hex range and scan an enemy mech.
Nice.
I was very surprised to actually pull that off.
Well, today for episode 100, we are going to be looking at the Night Hawk, a 35-ton machine that is quite interesting and a little speedy boy, we'll say.
Yeah.
The Nighthawk was the first battlemech designed by Mountain Wolf Battlemechs, a slightly heavier, but just as mobile as the Stinger or Wasp strike light mech for extended deployment. The machine sports exclusively energy weapons and sporting more armor than most light machines. The prototypes outperformed the Defiance Industries competitor after 6 months of trial competitions. Winning the SLDF contract and its price point convinced the Defense Force to order 700 units for the first contract. This secured the new company's future as a arms manufacturer, but they never seemed to be able to replace their initial success. After the end of the Star League, the slow degradation of tech meant that Mountain Wolf Battlemechs made a downgraded version to cope with the supply and resource issues, until the destruction of their facility on Vendrell in 2945. After that, the number of machines quickly decreased as they were cannibalized to keep their other units operational. The company would be resurrected in 3055 by the grandson of the last company president and reestablished the factory to produce the Nighthawks on Vendrell. The Federated Commonwealth placed a large initial order for the venerated design. After the first order was completed, Mountain Wolf Battlemechs opened their stock to sale to mercenary units.
I like the Nighthawk. It's a cute little mech.
When I was first getting into Battletech, one of these variants was one I looked at really closely, and I would still like to get a miniature for. I think this is a pretty sweet little scout mech. Despite its origin as a tool of oppression by the Star League.
Go away, periphery apologist.
I mean, you'd be happy to know that one of the 2 Mountain Wolf production facilities is in the periphery. So
it's in the outer worlds. Yep.
The Moratorian Torians.
So this guy's got the design quirks of easy to maintain. And the first model we have was seen in 2656, and it is the NTK-2Q. It's got a movement profile of 6'9". It's got a large laser in the center torso. It's got an ER large laser in the right arm, and it's got a medium pulse laser in the left arm. It's got 12 double heat sinks. It's got an XL engine. Yeah, it's a speedy little boy at 35 tons, and it packs quite a bit of a punch, and it's got a fair amount of armor for being 35 tons.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can only put on another half ton if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
To force the issue.
Yeah. Overall, it's pretty well set up. I mean, at long range, you use the ER large because that's going to basically max out your heat rate. Or no, it's not, actually. Well, my bad. I was thinking single heat sinks. No, actually, yeah. It's heat neutral. Awesome. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's like the Star League's laser and armor version of the Commando.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just faster and cooler.
And
Literally
better
and
armed
figuratively.
and armored.
This
is a better version, but it also has an extra 10 tons.
10 tons. Yeah, Commando's 25 tons.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is nice.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that extra 10 tons on a 35-ton machine total, it adds up. It makes a lot of difference.
Oh no, it definitely does. Just looking over this thing, like it's.
Well, and when you compare it to the Commando, it's the same movement profile, but that extra 10 tons is basically a free 10 tons you can put into weapons and armor, which is exactly what they did.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's not quite 10 tons because your tonnage for your engine at that speed and your tonnage for your structure goes up, but it's pretty close to being free 10 tons.
Back of the envelope equations, 10 tons.
I mean, it's just a better light mech in its entirety. This is arguably one of the best light mechs we've covered. I mean, it goes. They use the Commando as an example. It's faster. It has more armor. It has more firepower. I mean, what
and
else
a
do you
longer
want?
reach.
And it reaches longer. Yeah.
It's the same speed as a Commando, Chandler. They're both
Commando's
6'9".
5'8". I thought.
Only the primitive. The 2D, which is the quintessential, is a 6'9".
I mean, so you're both correct due to
Nerds.
technicalities.
Total nerds.
Yeah, but the Commando's a Lyran mech, so it could go burn in a hole.
I mean, it is literally the very first light mech, so
Yeah, that's true.
So with an XL engine, it's a little fragile, but light mechs are one of those brackets where, if it's got an XL, it doesn't really matter because it's probably just
Gonna detonate.
dead if it gets hit with something heavy anyway.
If he dies, he dies.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a little sad that it doesn't have hands because you wouldn't need them and they wouldn't cost any extra tonnage.
I mean, it could flip its arms now, though, is the thing. So
True.
It's got 360 firing with the two of its weapons.
Yeah, the ER large and the medium pulse.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you got behind me with that hover tank? Cool. Eat
Pew
laser.
pew. And the art is quite interesting. It's got, the standard sort of humanoid legs, and then it's kind of just reminiscent of the Ost series, because it's kind of the walking pod or egg with kind of two barrels welded on the side.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I like the art for this one. I mean, again.
Oh, it's good art. I'm just trying to find a good way to describe it,
No,
Well, and the pod also has kind of a blade shape on the front where the cockpit is.
Mm-hmm. But it's a little hard to see that through the art on the record sheet and the TRO, but the mini shows that a lot more on the...
And it's...
Yeah. The mini's definitely
mini's not
aged.
terrible.
Yeah. It's aged, but it's not bad. It could always use a new one, but, I mean everything
like-
from that era could use a new one, so...
That's like half of Iron Lens's. It's not terrible. Still pretty good.
I think you could almost just resculpt it, like just make a plastic sculpt with the same art, and it would look just fine. It would fit in with all of the Comstar mechs.
Yeah.
The way it is.
The problem with the current models, that's very... it's very still. There's no movement in it.
Mhm.
Yeah, and its legs just look skinny.
Yeah, like the art for the record sheet and the TRO has its legs bent and clearly booking it and
Sprinting,
running. Yeah. But you can see the pod I'm seeing with the mini on the Nighthawk miniature. So, I don't know. That's just my hot take.
I will say, with the 6'9" profile, it doesn't feel super scouty to me, especially when it's packing two variants of large lasers. I definitely feel like this guy is a skirmisher or striker.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. I feel like it's like a light scout in force sort of machine.
It's more of what would be supporting other scout mechs in a lance. It's just a fast fire support platform for them.
Mm-hmm. So like the hammer compared to the anvil, which would probably be the mediums or what have you.
Well, so the hammer is a light and the anvil is a medium.
Yeah. I mean, in this case, the Nighthawk is basically it's a cavalry mech. I mean, it's a fast cavalry mech. It's going to be able to support anything lighter. Basically, you find a target with a lighter mech, and then the Nighthawk rolls in and blasts it. Either that, or it's able to provide covering fire due to long-range firepower that it has. I think overall, like, if you're going to use a Nighthawk for anything, it's going to be more like guerrilla fighting and stuff like that.
Sorry, Brent, I had to poke fun because the hammer and anvil are actual Free Worlds League mechs.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, the light mech and the heavy mech.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so the 2Q has a battle value of 997 and a point value of 27, and the all energy, means supply is not an issue. It can go for extended deployments. I like the medium pulse laser for dealing with anything jumpy toad boy, even though those aren't around yet. But you get where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it is followed up with the 2Q-EC seen in 2819, and this has the ER medium laser prototype for clan technology in the left arm, and this is a version made by the clan Smoke Jaguars. They also added a little bit of armor and makes it a little more aggressive, a little more pokey, we'll say.
Yeah, and it just gives you more range.
Yeah, just twin ER weapons now.
Mm-hmm.
It's annoying because that proto ER has the standard ER range, and it doesn't quite match up with the large laser.
Yeah.
Like it just needs one more hex for short range to match up with that large laser.
That's a prototype.
Yep.
It also weighs 1.5 tons. That's where they got that other half ton. That's where it went from switching from the medium pulse.
And you get that extra heat too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one is definitely a little warmer than its first iteration.
So honestly, it's more of like a trial mech than anything else, like a test.
Mm-hmm.
It's because, again, it doesn't seem very refined or fine-tuned, refined. It seems like it was just like, hey, let's put this prototype weapon on here and see how it works. And yeah,
it does its job well.
Yeah, I mean, that's why it's only around for very short periods of time if you look at the faction availability for it. So
it's probably just early clan, and then that's it.
Yeah, it's early clan, and then it also appears during the Jihad for some of the other lesser clan factions.
Barak, Pirates, and Society.
Yep.
So like the really
sincerity.
Random discovered stockpiles sort of stuff.
Yeah, it was basically pulled out of caches to be used by whoever. So
them banditos.
Yep.
So it's got a battle value of 1,041 and a point value of 27. So next we come to the 2P, which was seen in 2853, and this is the downgraded version of the 2Q once scarcity and tech level had decreased, and so we no longer have the XL engine, but to maintain the movement, we had to reconstruct it as best we could from what little records we have and what we came up with, or specifically what Chandler came up with, to give credit and or throw under the bus, depending on how the comments go. I hope that's okay. I thought it was a little funny.
No, yeah. I mean, literally, the information we have is literally, it's a downgraded version. We don't have records. It's like, well, thank you. I guess this is information. Yeah. So I just kind of went with it.
So it's got 6'9" movement. It's got a large laser in the center torso, a medium laser in the right arm, and a medium laser in the left arm. It's got 12 single heat sinks, and yeah, it doesn't have any weight savings or anything like that. It's actually reasonably heat efficient.
Kind of.
Like, unless you're right up on the alpha striking and running, you're going to be reasonably heat neutral. You could always just drop one medium laser to help even things out,
Yeah. And I did consider switching it to a 5.8 and keeping the other large laser somehow, but
that would get very warm.
I like fast light mechs. And 5.8 is not fast for a light mech.
No, And also, like, the medium laser is very efficient, so, you know, it would stand to reason that you would, in a time of scarcity and, you know, limited availability,
Resources.
yeah, you would go with the tried and true and pretty easy to get a hold of, because we're pretty sure you can get a 6-pack of medium lasers at your corner store in most eras.
Yeah, just about any discount Dans will have medium lasers in stock.
They may not be tier 4 lasers, but they're
It might not be some Defiance lasers, mind you, but they're still lasers, I'll tell you what.
Them there lasers.
them their lasers are guaranteed to fire. Fire at your enemy or fire internally, doesn't matter.
They're
They're
gonna
guaranteed to fire.
There's gonna be a fire, I don't know where.
You're gonna get blasted.
Anyway, I started blasting.
That's when I started blasting.
So the battle value calculator rings this guy in at 898, but this is our best guess at a reconstruction. So you know, maybe in your homebrew campaign, it's something a little different.
Maybe so, maybe no.
So now, as mentioned, the company and the machine was resurrected in 3055, and more specifically, the factory was able to produce machines in a fully functional form by 3059. We have the 2S of the Nighthawk.
I like this one.
This one's definitely scouty.
Mm-hmm. It's got a movement profile of 6'9". It's got a large laser in the center torso. It's got an ECM Suite Guardian and a active probe Beagle in the left torso. It's got an ER large laser in the right arm. It has 11 double heat sinks. It's got that XL engine that the first iteration had, and it's got, you know, those heat sinks still gumming up the right torso, but the one in the left torso has been removed and replaced with the ECM and the Beagle, so, you know, using up a lot of those slots.
Trades the heatsink and the medium laser.
Mhm.
Two heat sinks? No.
One
One
heatsink.
Where's the... So...
The other half ton's not the armor. If we're going off the 2Q, you lose, so you get rid of the medium pulse laser, so 2 tons, and then you get a 3-ton total there with the extra heatsink going away.
Mm-hmm. And it becomes like completely heat neutral because the large laser and the ER large laser are 20, and then running is 22.
Yeah, and you've got a full E-War suit, so...
Yep.
I mean, that E-War suit definitely makes it a lot more scouty.
Cutting edge sweet for the time.
Oh, yeah.
The only thing you could do is make it lighter with clan tech, but no reason, really. Especially since 3059, you don't have any native production by any means.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a lot easier just to, you know, use the most advanced stuff that you have laying around for your sphere. So overall, I mean, it ain't nothing to shake a stick at. So.
Oh no, it very strong.
Since it's a bird name, and there's a facility in the Outworlds Alliance, I would love to see the Raven Alliance do a clan tech version.
I don't know.
I could see it.
Now, would you give it something more weapon-wise, or would you give it jump jets?
My one thing is I don't think it was ever produced at that facility.
Yeah, they don't.
Alfred's in the OA?
No, that one was... no, yeah, because on Sarna it does listed as being produced out there.
Yeah, so it is built in the Outworlds Alliance. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought they'd only refurbished the...
The Vendrell plant is just
Yeah.
Nighthawks.
Yep, okay. Well, no, they don't even bring the Vendrell plant back up. I'm looking at the lore. No, they actually just do it straight out of the one that's out in the Outer Worlds.
No, they bring it back up because during the Jihad it's functioning.
Oh, yeah. Okay, never mind. Yeah, I didn't catch that.
So I would be really tempted to put jump jets on it because jump jets make light mechs better. But I think if I were the Raven Alliance, I would probably use clan tech to increase the speed, bring it up to where a 35-tonner really should be, and then give it... Well, actually, clan tech XLs don't. So maybe you just boost the weapons, give it a clan large pulse and a clan ER.
I mean, you might be able to squeeze out 711 because of the lighter weapons.
Let's try it.
I'm messing with it right now. The 2 ER larges.
That's what I would do. I would try and bump it up to maybe a 711 using clan tech.
Oh yeah, you can. Yeah, you get both of them. You can.
I mean, that also implies that, you know, the clans even care enough to do that.
Well, I could see the Raven Alliance going, hey, we have these giant farming planets that could use protection from pirates.
I
We have
mean,
Nighthawks.
Yeah, they do. but why would they want to invest more money in improving the thing when it just does it itself? Like that's kind of my thing. Is it's like you got to look at it military-industrial complex-wise. Is
the only reason I could see it getting off the ground is as a propaganda piece, because they also already make the Stinger C, which is real strong and basically does what this does, but a little more lightly armed. And you don't need an entire new production facility for that prestige or increase of armaments unless it's a propaganda or a make-work project.
Yeah.
I mean, plus, if you have the production, you already have them, all you have to do is swap to a clan. You don't even have to change the engine or anything else. You just go, okay, we're going to put a clan ER large, a clan pulse.
Well, that also, I mean, it depends on how much like parts availability is too. So maybe they don't have that.
A large portion of the Raven Alliance production of their bigger stuff's ship-based still currently.
I'm just saying it should be a fairly easy upgrade because you're just swapping out weapons and potentially armor, and then
the bones are somewhat the same.
No,
but I guess bumping up the engine.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I'm just my point is that we don't know what their production levels are and what their priorities are. Upgrading the Nighthawk might not be on that high level of priority.
Mm-hmm.
It might just be like, hey, it gets the job done with what it's got, so why fix it if it ain't broke?
Yeah, I mean you could also give it back its medium pulse and just keep the sensor suite, so you could have the perfect 2Q.
So what you're saying is this machine has a lot of customization options if a player wants to play with it in a campaign.
Potentially, yes.
So you could take the 2Q and you could replace all the weapons with clan weapons and give it clan Pharaoh, and you could fit an ER large laser, an ER large laser, an ER small, a bunch of double heat sinks so we can't get heat neutral, and a supercharger and also make it faster because it goes 711 now.
Mm-hmm.
So it just is fast boy.
I could also see a version where someone if you can do that on your table, because, everyone's table is different and depending on what sort of granularity you want, give it endo, give it, the double heat sinks and the clan tech and all of that, and give it jump jets. Maybe
Endo steel.
Just maybe advanced jump jets.
If you give it endo steel, you can get 3 regular jump jets on it. 4 if you get rid of the super.
Yeah, but I'm trying to keep it, like Derek was pointing out, do you have the capabilities? And I'm just thinking armor and weapons
are the easiest. Yeah.
You
don't have to retool anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you do want to retool, you bump it up to 711.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 245 XL, which isn't that common. It's not uncommon, but it's not a 250 or
it's not an insurmountable hurdle, but it's not ready stock available.
It's one of those things that you could, what little resources you are putting into upgrading this, you could just put into making more Stinger 2Cs,
mm-hmm.
which are already stupid good.
Yes.
And you already have dedicated production for it.
Let's be real, that is a very good machine. But the 2S is a pretty spiffy machine and really neat, and I think it's cool and has a lot of personality as something that has survived the Jihad if you're playing in the Ilklon era, and, something that has history. It's got a battle value of 1017 and a point value of 28. We then come to our pilot profiles.
Lieutenant Rashida Sugarfoot Hughie? I'm going with Hughie. We're going with Hughie.
Yugi!
Yo.
No, Hughie.
Yugi.
Hugh. Okay.
It's time to do.
You gotta believe in the heart of the mech.
The spleen of the mech.
I am surrounded by idiots.
Yes.
Anyway, Lieutenant Rashida Sugarfoot Hughie. She was part of Roman's Barhounds, a mercenary unit hired by the Lyran Alliance Armed Forces to garrison Bellinor. Received a lance of Nighthawks, including one 2S variant issued to Sugarfoot. A talented deep recon scout, Hughie is also a gifted mimic and fluent in English. 2 attributes that stood in good stead when the Jade Falcon's Lambda Galaxy descended on Bellinor in late April of 3064. Although she saw her share of combat in the 4 months of guerrilla fighting, accounting for 2 Allers in separate duels. It was her solo missions behind Jade Falcon lines that provided Colonel Roman with the intel he needed to stay one step ahead. On 2 occasions, she saved the Barhounds by broadcasting conflicting commands on clan channels at critical moments. In August, the 9 surviving Barhounds, no longer an effective fighting force, escaped to Morgas. There, Huey was immediately hired by the Blue Star regulars. So that
Blue Star, as opposed to the Red Star or the Yellow Star.
Well, if you get enough blue stars, you'll be able to get a laser pistol from the sarsaparilla factory.
Sarsaparilla.
I mean, basically, she went from like a low tier merc unit to a pretty high pretty high level unit.
We'll give a B rating on that one, I think.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they have a B rating. Quick to Sarna.
I'm on Sarna right now. It actually doesn't show what their rating is.
How dare? How dare?
Blue Star Irregulars.
Who do they think they are? Not giving us their proper rating.
Normally they usually have it.
Audacity.
That is disappointing. And I'm sure we can dig it up in a book, but not while we're recording.
Yeah. They were sad victims of the jihad. Anyway, moving on.
Mm-hmm. Many a sad victim from the jihad, because jihad was a bad time. Mostly because we didn't get to see it.
The bad times.tm.
The bad times. The dark times.
For our data dive, we are going to talk about Solaris 7 for the first time in detail, in depth. Part A, or 1, if you will. Now, class, we are going to talk about Solaris 7, both the system and the planet, which is, of course, just Solaris. And I want to say that this topic was suggested by our patron, John Keith III, who has been very patient and understanding, allowing us to take the time to properly give this topic the nuance, depth, and research it deserves. And I think we can all agree that that's what's for the best. For we are all instinctively at least a little bit aware or know how big of a topic or subject Solaris 7 is. Actually, class, can anyone give me an example of what Solaris 7 is? As I said, we all know instinctively what the planet of Solaris 7 is. It is a gaming world. It is an arena. But would anyone like to volunteer a story or a guess as to how to sum up Solaris 7? What about you, Jake? No, sorry, Jake with the red jacket.
Alright, so this is a Merc-style 2-on-2 game. 1 mech, 1 player. Teams are me and a stock Phoenix Hawk, teammate and a stock Rifleman, and we're facing off against a stock Hatchet Man and a custom monstrosity of a Black Knight running a hatchet and jump jets with half the long-range stuff stripped out. We run into this knowing if either of them can close, we're just flat out done, but we're hoping as they close, we can force them to pick which mech they want tearing up their rear armor. We open up with the Rifleman to keep them on their toes, and I go full bore running around the arena, taking pot shots to get to the other side of them. The Black Knight and I are taking large laser shots at each other the whole time. We're not getting a lot of hits, but the Rifleman's pinging a bunch of AC-5 and large lasers off them, and they're losing armor pretty quick. The Black Knight pilot takes a hit from an AC-5 on the dome and decides it's time to take out our heavy. They start the charge, and our Rifleman is in way too close. We'd gotten really close. There's no way they can get out of there fast enough and keep firing. So I run like getting close enough to throw an Alpha Strike into the Knight's back. Terrible rolls. No crits. The Black Knight gets enough twist to put some medium laser heat on me, and the Hatchet Man strips the rest of the armor on one of my legs with an AC-10 shot. We start looking at the board. I'm down an MP from the heat, the Black Knight's between me and our Rifleman, and the Hatchet Man is still catching up. Neither of us can move far enough to keep the Black Knight from closing to melee if we lose initiative. We lose. I miscount his jump jets and think I can get away by jumping up onto an arch, and he follows me up. Slams the hatchet through my left torso, and I lose that, an arm, half my gyro, fall off the ledge, and lose a leg on impact. The pilot's still alive, but the mech is just thoroughly dead. So we're down a mech, and I figure we're done. The Rifleman's pretty fresh, the Black Knight and the Hatchet Men are all beat to hell, but if they can make it to melee, it's done, and they're already close. We win the initiative. So the Black Knight stays up on the arch to bide for a better initiative, because he doesn't want to jump down and risk taking a nasty hit, and he's hoping the Hatchet Man can take another round of fire. The Rifleman decides the Black Knight's the bigger threat, and runs to get enough space for a clear shot. The Hatchet Man closes, but without the initiative, can't get melee off. The Rifleman fires. Large laser and 2 AC-5s at the front arc of the Black Knight. Large lasers miss. First AC misses. Second AC hits. Roll for location. Boxcars. 5 straight to the face. Enough to force a crit, but not enough to destroy the head. So the Night Pilot takes his hit and stays conscious. We're all watching the Rifleman roll their crit. 1 location. Cockpit. Unbelievably lucky shot. Total turnaround. The Hatchet Man is in close, but the Rifleman doesn't have to survive a lot of turns to pull the kill at this point. All 4 of us are laughing about how ridiculous this shot was. Like, we were out. And I'm talking about, like, my pilot's going nuts, cheering, trapped in the cockpit of this busted Phoenix Hawk. And then the Night player goes quiet. I'd fall off the arch, right? Oh, yeah. Nobody to make a piloting roll. That thing's toppling. The facing roll says here, and I'm falling backwards. That means I hit the Phoenix Hawk on the ground. It took us 15 minutes of paging through to find the rules to figure out how to apply damage, but the knight ends up falling and absolutely obliterating the hawk. Leaves behind like a leg and a half lying in a crater. The rifleman ends up taking out the hatchet man afterwards in some ugly melee brawling. But the whole group is like still to this day arguing about whether it counts as a DFA if you aren't alive to see it. It's the ugliest win I've ever had, but worth it for that story.
Now that's a great recounting of events, and does inhabit the spirit of Solaris 7. Duels, custom machines, and upsets. All things that embody the gaming world. And a planet that, fortunately, is not entirely unique in the inner sphere. Many planets, after all, are destinations in and of themselves. Now, do any of my esteemed co-hosts have any excellent stories?
Ooh, pick me, pick me, pick me, pick me!
Derek, you have the conch?
I have the conch. Excellent. I have the talking stick. So, my introduction to Solaris 7 was as a young man playing MechWarrior 4 on a terrible computer in the basement of my cousin's house. But nevertheless,
As is tradition.
For those of us growing up in the early 2000s. As we sat there and, played this amazing game and were introduced to this universe of mechs and shooting things and blowing stuff up and getting paid to do it, we learned of Solaris 7, the game world. There we traveled. And there we learned that you could put a lot of machine guns on a locust and run around in circles and destroy mechs. Heavy mechs, assault mechs, win all the divisions, become Solaris champion in a locust. Nevertheless, that was my introduction, and ever since then I've, loved Solaris. It's pretty awesome. But anyway, I'll go away now.
I thought you were going to have a Pop-Tarting story, because that's what I remember with Mech 4 Solaris. Maxing out your jump jets, maxing out your heavy PPCs, and then jumping up from behind things and trying to get headshots.
Oh no, we just did all the machine guns on a locust, and you just took off all the armor, bumped its engine up to as far as it could go, and then threw as much ammunition on there as humanly possible. And basically, the whole goal was just to run around in circles because the AI couldn't track very well with how fast you're going. It's just if you got hit, yeah.
You went away.
There's a need for speed.
You would explode. You would explode horrifically, and it was funny. But yeah,
Duncan Fisher doesn't know what you're doing, but Fisher approves.
And I forgot about Duncan Fisher. Yeah, Duncan Fisher was, a staple of my youth.
The meme that made canon.
Yeah.
Yep.
The meme that made good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Solaris was a great place for me and MechWarrior 4 to go get cash.
Cash money.
It was pretty easy work in that game for most of it. And if I had to describe Solaris 7, it would be Las Vegas in Motor City. Like you take Detroit and Las Vegas and you smash them together at their peaks and most corrupt.
Yeah.
But you repeat yourself.
I remember when I was a kid, my pappy took me in Solaris 7, and we bet on all the mechs, and we lost all our money.
You're only supposed to bet on one, and then that one needs to win. That's how that works.
We bet on all the mechs. We lost all our money.
Actually, it works that you can bet on how much armor each one loses and stuff. There are so many granular bets that you can make. The long shots, the high yield paybacks, it's kind of the charm of Solaris 7.
I don't gamble no more.
Sure you don't.
No more or no less.
Yes.
Well, Solaris 7 clearly is a entertainment destination in and of itself for every shape and variety. And as our esteemed co-host has said, the elevator pitch of Solaris 7 is Space Vegas with battle mechs as the main event. But that is reductive and oversimplifies a planet that can be seen as a planet state in its own right, a cultural mecca of the inner sphere and beyond, and a place where a MechWarrior can find fame and fortune, a place where all of the politics and all levels of human space slam together in a beautiful and violent explosion of human existence. For example, we can look back to the time before the FedCom Civil War and see that generation-defining conflict play out in miniature on the streets of Solaris City. And that's not the only time something like that has happened. But with all things, to understand where we are, we have to look at where we were. and where we come from. And to do that correctly, we must, of course, start at the beginning. And we will see a planet that is very different than the one we know today. To start with, the Solaris system has 12 planets, 3 with atmospheres, 1 of which is breathable to humans, and 2 are completely poisonous and toxic. 2 planets are also mineral-rich. Fortunately, 1 of them has an atmosphere, and it happens to be the one breathable by humans. The other is Solaris 4, and this airless rock has minimal population on minimal building and station infrastructure in order to mine the planet as effectively as possible. And due to the high level of technology and automation, as well as the low staff on the planet, because it really is like one of those like skeleton crews that has barely any industries supporting it, it is able to turn a profit, but never to the point where it could actually grow and be sustainable. Like you're basically airless mining. That gets expensive.
Good way to make sure people don't do strikes. We'll just cut off your supply if you don't listen to us.
And then we have the Solaris system, which has a shell of comets that will regularly have one dislodge from its orbit and fall into the sun with a predictable enough pattern that cruises and luxury liners are now a sub-industry, of course promoting and supporting all events and betting on Solaris 7 proper, with matches tight-beamed to the vessels. But as I said, Solaris 7 is the only naturally habitable planet. It has 2 continents, Greyland and Etis. They are mineral-rich and offer several varieties of terrain and topography in close proximity to each other, making it an ideal testing ground for new hardware, especially of the military sort. The trials the companies used to test soon were showcases to potential customers as in-person demos and demonstrations. Solaris had many companies sponsored or backed by many different nations, but primarily the Free Worlds League and the Lyran Commonwealth, due to the proximity the system had to each nation. So Solaris 7 has always had somewhat of an independent or internal flavor to it. The first listing of Solaris 7 as an inhabited planet on the maps of the Inner Sphere is in 2271, and lists it as an independent colony. For the next 300 years, Solaris would remain independent during the formation of both the Free Worlds League and the Lyran Commonwealth. In 2571, it would join the Free Worlds League and naturally receive a Senate seat for its contribution to the state. The first official match between military-grade hardware took place in 2695 between a Orgus Phoenix Hawk and a Defiant Sentinel. See last episode for that machine. This was the culmination of the slow evolution of live witness sales pitches to entertainment industry. For in the years of Solaris being a destination business location, many sub-industries had sprouted up to support the visiting business people with disposable income. Nightlife entertainment was and continues to be a staple of Solaris City's economy. Soon the caliber of nightlife became a draw in its own right, but the first duel was won by the Phoenix Hawk, cementing its bid for an SLDF contract. Orgus cut the footage of the match into a promo reel for distribution off-planet. Soon after, a re-edited copy was found, reconstructing the match in its entirety and selling it on the gray market for good money. On Solaris 7, the house always wins, so the house doesn't leave money sitting on the table. This means Solaris City quickly retooled its many industries and sub-industries to support an entertainment economy. Producing and testing were still the backbone of Solaris 7, but the economic reach of these arms of the entertainment industry reached across the Inner Sphere now. Gambling, entertainment, drugs, and sex work were all common in Solaris City. Solaris City had always a loose neighborhood affiliation with each nation, with the city being split between the Free World League and the Lyran Commonwealth, backed companies as proxy. For the rest of the Star League's existence, Solaris would provide entertainment to the Inner Sphere and sometimes be a public front for national conflicts, an example of which being the first hidden war between the Terran hegemony and the Draconis Combine. They would reap massive profits that allowed for expansion and industrial growth, but also for individuals to live in staggering excess and indulgence. This, of course, is juxtaposed by the stark poverty that the lowest rung of the population lives in. Solaris City is an example of the distance between the rich and the poor being geographically very, very small. After the fall of the Star League, the Lyrans aimed to take the region they referred to as the Solaris Bulge from the Free World League. The Solaris Bulge was an area that protruded into the Lyran space, stretching the Free World League border, allowing for a 2-jump distance from Free World League territory to Hesperus II. The Lyran Commonwealth High Command felt this was unacceptable, especially since the fall of the Star League and up into 2815, the region saw an increased use of warship and heavy raids by both nations. Hauptmann General Rainier Hogarth was the mastermind behind Operation Spiderweb that followed the taking of the Bolin Thumb. Spiderweb would form a pincer formation, taking planets behind the more heavily industrialized worlds and isolating them and distributing supply lines. Happenstance allowed the Lyran Commonwealth Navy to defeat the Free World League Navy group and defenders turned counter-invasion force in transit. Solaris 7 would fall without a shot being fired, for during the entire time, news of the Lyran Commonwealth success was used as propaganda and sent into the Solaris system and distributed throughout Solaris City to show the benefits of the Lyran Commonwealth Alliance and the futility of fighting. In 2819, 2 Lyran Commonwealth dignitaries arrived on Solaris 7 with a negotiation offer, demanding the withdrawal of the Free World League militia units and recognizing the Lyran Commonwealth as their parent nation and paying them a reasonable tax rate each year, and they would be granted independence, autonomy, open world status, and defense guarantees. This, of course, was the olive branch. The unsaid threat came from the dignitaries very clearly enforcing that the Lyran Commonwealth military was arriving one way or another. The olive branch did, however, come with a guarantee from the Archon that they would introduce a bill to legally enshrine Solaris 7's independence. The city debated and weighed its options. Ultimately, they chose to withdraw from the Free World League and take the deal with the Lyran Commonwealth. The deciding factor appears to be that the Lyran Commonwealth economy was larger and stronger and more stable, giving Solaris 7 a bigger guaranteed market. This is closely examined, as many have pointed out, the approximately 52% ownership of the planet's major companies by Lyran Commonwealth affiliated parties. Naturally, the Free World League and the garrison commander did not take this in stride. They in fact sprinted to their equipment and deployed to occupy Solaris City. But when they learned of the redeployment of more Steiner units along the border within easy support range of Solaris 7, Commander Roy Magarus reluctantly acquiesced to the Solaris City decision and wishes. The Free World League forces would completely withdraw within approximately 2 weeks before the deadline of the Steiner offer. Now an independent planet, open to people of all nations and homeworlds, it took great strides to resemble Solaris as we know it today. This is when Solaris City started to restructure, breaking the de facto 2 sectors into 6, one for each successor state, and an international zone for the dropship port. They rebuilt and formally established entire neighborhoods with specific iconography and architectural styles to represent each distinct faction, a process that had started in early 2700s but was now officially recognized and established with recognized borders for each neighborhood. Solaris 7 announced itself to the Inner Sphere as a destination unto itself, the independent entertainment giant of human space. Today, we're recording on August 2nd, a holiday on Solaris 7. Even to this day, it commemorates the misjump and destruction of the warship Despiser, an Essex-class destroyer. The ship that, in March of 2820, joined 2 SLDF units turned mercenaries that jumped into the Solaris system at a pirate point, during a point that Solaris had no Lyran naval protection. The mercenaries, Red Eagles and Clinton's Cutthroats, landed in the Bracken Swamp north of Solaris City. There, the LCAF engaged the invaders for 3 days, resulting in several small satellite towns and a water treatment plant being completely destroyed before the mercenaries were driven back. The Despiser entered orbit in maneuvers similar to rapid recovery tactics as the invading force was badly bloodied. The captain of the Despiser, however, ordered that it open fire on the city with its naval weapons for 10 minutes. Due to positioning, drift, and physics, the destroyer's bombardment fell just shy of the northeast city limits, but reduced the suburbs and industrial complexes to inhospitable wastelands, then gathered the remaining mercenaries and jumped away, leaving a radioactive scar across the face of this new independent and free destination planet. Naturally, you can understand Solaris residents' veneration of April 2nd as a holiday. Solaris City would rebuild over time and slowly reclaim the bombardment area through generations of recovery projects. The massive income from international tourists from every corner of the sphere certainly helped. The attack also solidified the Lyran people's support of the Solaris system, leading to Marcus Steiner ratifying the Solaris Acts in 2824, guaranteeing Solaris independence. The Acts would be further ratified again in 2905 by Elizabeth Steiner in a political move that strengthens the Solaris 7 independence in the Lyran governmental law. That is where we will leave off today, a game world free and independent, who has a new scar across its face, slowly healing, becoming a cultural mecca and microcosm of the inner sphere, an entertainment juggernaut, and a cultural influencer in the extreme.
Yeah, I think it's one thing people tend to forget about Solaris 7 is that it started out as a kind of a factory world, even if and that capability still exists. So
see all the retro tech stuff and everything.
Yeah, and VEST Mech Corporation got its start there with technicians who were used to rebuilding
custom stuff from the arenas.
Highly custom arena stuff, and they've put out a number of really cool designs. That part of the planet tends to get overwhelmed or overlooked with all the game world stuff, but it's a major part of their industry and economy, and it's
I mean, even with the whole game world thing, it's still used as a testing ground by many of the nations. They take, different things there and go like, hey, let's this thing works. Yeah, because it's a controlled environment, basically, where they can test it. Where it's like, it's not, throwing this thing on the battlefield, it's throwing this thing on in an arena at Solaris 7. I think...
limited chaos.
Yeah, limited chaos is the best way to describe it. I think the FedCom tested some stuff there in the pre-clan invasion / post-clan invasion era. They're just
a lot of factories have governmental backing from every successor state, basically. And actually, as the universe and city has grown, also some periphery states have little subsections in the later years, kind of in the suburbs, but they're never given an official neighborhood. Same with Rasselhag, which is unfortunate.
Rasselhag.
Rasselhag.
Well, the psychology of the planet is interesting too, because there's a great story in the Project Phoenix TRO that takes place during the Jihad, and some Solaris militia types have been falling back fighting against the Word of Blake, and they encounter a bunch of really old designs, the Project Phoenix mechs, and they negotiate with them, and all the guys who are driving the old Project Phoenix mechs are really interested in is they get the rights to the film crew's footage for the battles against Word of Blake, because that's their ticket back into the limelight with these Project Phoenix mechs. Like they're not asking for money, they're not asking for salvage rights.
They're asking for exposure.
Rights. Yeah, we want put us on your Instagram.
Yeah, but we have companies that are backed by successor state nations, and these companies also are heavily connected or directly influence and back, or stables are just arms of these companies.
Yeah.
And these companies and stables will probably be an episode in and of themselves, because they are incredibly interesting, and there's enough of them that it's like, yeah, that volume is a thing in and of itself, because we also have stables who are like pro Davian and pro Steiner, and just because they're pro, Commonwealth or Federated Sun doesn't mean that they're pro Davian, and that they can be loyal opposition. There's a very deep and
there's large political games that are played out in the backdrop of like Solaris 7's entertainment. Like, you have like straight up proxy wars going on in the game, like basically in the arena. Yeah. Like my Davian pilot goes against, a Karita pilot, and it's literally seen as an extension of the Succession Wars, not seen as just, a guy with a Lao background playing against it. Like, you see that in the Warrior trilogy, where,
And like a good chunk of the first Hidden War was fought on Solaris 7 in the arenas.
Yeah, it's actually a lot of, like, Solaris is a multipolar thing. It's really got so many different things going on in it that
It
a lot
is
of
a
people
fertile, growing bed of storytelling.
Yeah, where a lot of people are just like, oh, it's just an arena world. Like, that's all it is. It's space Las Vegas. Yeah, but it's space Las Vegas with tons of political maneuvering and backroom deals occurring.
Like the best club in town is Valhalla. To get in, you've got to be a arena jock of some report or just champion.
Yeah.
Just casual champion,
I mean, it's like in the latest in the latest Shrapnels, they've had a series of stories about a bar on Solaris 7 with people from all over the inner sphere rolling up and telling their stories, like post-jihad. Like, it's kind of cool like that, where that's where something like that would happen, is on Solaris 7. Like, there's very few.
Don't get me wrong. There's lots of people in Valhalla that have never set foot in a mech. They just happen to be guests of all of those people because money can buy invitations.
Money buys friendship.
Yep.
I mean, like, it's such a cool world where there's so many, like, cool stories. It's not just the fighting in the arena. There's the underground elements of it. Like, Destiny has a campaign and set where literally you're involved in some underground deals and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, later on, if you're a fan of the Dark Ages books, there's a whole story that revolves around some of the arena fighters who fight in the infantry division.
Yeah.
So it's not just mechs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to seeing what's going on with Solaris in the future, because currently it's still under Wolf control.
Yes. But mostly hands off.
Yeah.
Well, they've been apparently doing blood name tournaments that are streamed live across the inner sphere.
Yeah. So they're definitely playing to it. Its advantages having it.
Mm-hmm. There's a way to integrate that's least resistance, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in a lot of ways, it's the closest you're going to get to clan culture in the inner sphere.
Mm-hmm.
Although the clanners don't much care for it. They think it's heretical, but
how long are they going to think it's heretical? That's my question.
It's breaking down very quickly.
Yeah, now that they're seeing, that money buys things, it's
Well, and they're all about pride and getting your name out there and being famous.
There's
through your
parallels.
victories.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying, is it's literally like they don't like it because it's not the same as what they are used to, but it literally is in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
There's
a rose by any other name.
Yeah, it's literally Batchalls by any other name and trials of possession and whatnot. Like,
come to Solaris 7, Batchalls by any other name.
There you go, Brent.
Well, I mean that's interesting too going forward, because you've got this new Star League under Alaric Ward. And yes, I know it's the Ill Clan, but it's just a new Star League. Let's be honest.
Well, he's also deliberately said that he wants it to be the Star League.
Uh-huh.
So you've got Solaris 7, where Clan Wolf is now doing trials, but it's also got a tradition of aspiring arena fighters to show up. How long before that's the ticket into the new SLDF is the new gunfighter school? You come to Solaris 7, work your way up through the arenas and into the SLDF.
I mean, Solaris has, in a lot of ways, a history of excellence. I mean, look at two of probably the most famous in the BattleTech setting, like the actual novel setting, is Kai Allard Lau and his father.
Yep, Kai and Justin.
Yeah, they gained their fame not on the battlefield, but Kai did earn his.
Both is good.
Yeah, both is good. They did earn some fame in the battlefield, but like recognition-wise, they weren't recognized until they won in Solaris. Like, people were like, "Oh yeah, that."
I mean, it is a note that many people believed that Kai would have broken Grey Norton's streak as champion, except after 2 years he joined active service again. And Grey Norton is an important character that has been brought up before and has connections to Kai's dad, and read more about it in the Warrior trilogy.
And even in the newest some of the newest novels. Blood Will Tell with Denai Liao.
She's still known because of her days in Solaris.
And it's to the point where she had to give up Yen Lo Wang because it made her a huge target on the battlefield.
Well, on top of
Because
that,
it's such a well-known mech.
I mean, also she is having to shift her fighting style is kind of part of that as well, because she is no longer a Solaris jock.
Yeah, she can't just go ham with an axe. She needs to be a bit more, conservative.
Yeah, but I mean,
especially
in the
since
book,
she's a commander.
Yeah.
In the book, she straight up says that she has to get rid of it because the
It's a
enemy
huge
targeted
target.
her
Yeah,
because they recognize the mech.
which is hard not to, considering it's got a friggin' shield that's huge.
Well,
Which
it's
is
got
awesome because the shields are great. Like they're amazing, but they are very easy to pick out.
and it's got a 125-year plus history thanks to Solaris.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see who picks it up next.
Be
Free
interesting if
St.
it went
Ives.
back to one of Kai's grandkids or something like that.
Yeah. That would be my guess, but we'll see.
I mean, either that, it might not even be Kai's, it could be a different Allard,
Yeah.
because they're still running around. I mean, you've got the, of Justin's brother.
I mean, yeah,
his
the Allards
descendants.
are a minor house in and of themselves.
Yeah, so.
That's the thing about feudal houses. There's always another branch.
There's always another one.
Didn't Kai's only kid get killed by the Capellans?
He had two.
He had two. Okay.
Yeah, he had his
Also-
son and daughter.
Also, his sister was a mech warrior in her own right.
Yeah.
And I believe she had 3, I think. if
Yeah,
I'm
he
remembering.
had a younger brother, a younger sister, and then 2 other sisters. So I mean,
Yeah.
and then his son David Lear, and then Melissa Allard Liao. Although to be fair, David died in 3128, so we honestly know very little of like him overall. Like he only shows up a little bit.
I mean, there's a lot of kids and grandkids that are name dropped and not seen. See, Victor and Isis's progeny.
Yeah, they show up a little bit, but we also know that they have grandchildren already too. So like
Oh,
Victor
yeah.
has great grandchildren even during the Capellan Crusades.
There's an entire brood running around that we know very little about.
Yeah. And then like Melissa, honestly, when she died, she was in her like 60s.
Mm-hmm.
So again, still comes down to we don't know. There could be a lot of them running around out there.
And this
On top.
all counts as Solaris 7 talk because the Allards are the reigning champions.
Yeah. And then
their history is very closely tied. So, and also it's episode 100, and I'm sure people just want to. We have had lots of feedback that people enjoy the digressions, the back and forth canter, and etc. So why not indulge at this milestone?
fair enough. And I mean, on top of that, like Daniel Allard, he married Megan Kell, the daughter of Jaboy. So
It's your boy, Cloud of Daggers.
It's your boy. So like my thing is if you really think about it, on top of that, you've got the Allard / Kell dynasties mixed in Daniel's children. So, which is funny because you have their names are Tempest Allard, Harrison Allard, and Mark Allard. And again, we know very little about all 3 of them.
Poor Mark Allard. Because his name tape is going to read M. Allard, and everybody's just going to call him Mallard.
Mallard, yeah.
The Mallard.
But yeah, basically the only real thing we get out of those 3 siblings is a line in Natural Selection where basically Victor and Mark are talking, and Victor and Mark basically expresses his frustration at the betrayal of his uncle Phelan.
Mm-hmm.
Which, so like, again,
Heretical dynasties always have a backup, or not heretical.
Dude, the Allard dynasty just has so many backups, it's insane. But
You
again,
got backups for your backups.
Yeah, we got backups for backups.
Hereditary always have a backup. That's what it is.
But yeah, like again, it's a very interesting kind of thing where like you don't have a whole lot of information on some of these people that like they're descendants of very important people. Even like David Lear, like he actually plays a huge role in the jihad. But again,
Yeah.
he plays a huge role, but we get very little out of him even during that time period because
We do know that he was murdered by... Well, was it David Lear who was murdered by Devlin Stone? Or was he missing David Lear when he murdered the guy who helped him into stasis?
I think he was missing him. He was wishing that David was around.
Yeah,
Like the thing though
that
is
sounds right.
again, we know very little of David Lear. He only appears a little bit, but he plays a major role as a plot device, but then just fades back into the background. and then just gets mentioned occasionally, like in the Dark Age / Ill Clan era, where they're like, oh, if he was around, what would he say? But it's like, I don't know enough about this guy to tell you what he would say, so,
Yeah.
Like, you didn't really give me anything to go on. Honestly, I know that they're like, hey, we don't want to go back and, cover things that have already been covered and stuff like that. But it would be really cool if we got something where it's like David Lear from, like, the time of the Jihad, do something like, what's it called?
There's a window to do a novel covering his character development and his stories, similar to the most recent Grey Death Legion novel that, fills out the time that happened between Mercenary Star. That's the third one, right?
Yeah, it takes place.
Is it Operation Excalibur? The next one the Grey Death Legion is properly in and the focus of?
Yeah, it's the ones that happened in the clan invasion era.
Yeah, but like that's a good 30 years to fill in.
Yeah, like what were they doing?
And you get them mentioned in source books during the invasion, but it still isn't a completely fleshed out story.
Yeah, because literally, I think the books that take place in the clan invasion literally pick up 2 or 3 years after Tikiad. It's literally like, oh, all right. Well, yeah, we were involved in some of this heavy fighting and got to do this, but that was a few years ago. So you kind of miss out on a lot of the story. So I think, like I said, what was that? And
Mercenary Star ends before the Fourth Succession War.
Yes, and then this book takes place, the latest one that came out, Rock in a Hard Place, takes place literally hours before it begins, essentially, and in the days leading up to it, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, with David Lear, I'm trying to remember the book. It's the one where the smoke jaguar. It's that Blaine Lee Pardoe one that everybody loves.
Oh, Forever Faithful.
Yeah, Forever Faithful. Doing something like that,
and
not ruining the end of
retconning some characters.
Yeah, I'm still salty about how retcon Twilight of the Clans, because Twilight of the Clans was perfection.
Twilight of the Clans was very strong, very good. There was a very distinct character shift in Trent in Blaine's mind between writing those two books, and that is fine. That is his prerogative as the author. It just as Trent being one of my favorite characters, because I kind of started with the high watermark of reading the Twilight of the Clans, because it came in off the video games, and video games kind of focus on the clans a little bit. So I really liked Trent as a character. So it's.
But Trent really only had one book, right?
Yeah,
he had one book, and he showed up in, I want to say three other ones, but two of them were name drop or bit parts.
Yeah,
he had maybe one line.
He's in. Well, I know he's the first book, Exodus Road. He basically
that's
is the
his
main
book.
character. But then he does show up. Don't think he shows up. He really does. He gets mentioned a bunch by different characters, like Smoke Jaguar characters, and Victor, or not Victor. Well, Victor does mention him later. But I
believe there's a scene with him on Tharkad for the first conference.
Yeah, in the second book, and then he basically kind of just fades away. He gets mentioned by Howl during the
Hunters.
Yeah, he gets mentioned by Howl in the lead up, or when he's dealing with Horse.
Yeah,
in the Jade Falcon book.
Hunters.
Yeah, I think that is. And then he doesn't. Then he actually physically appears again in Prince of Havoc. But
yeah, I guess it's been. I reread book 1 recently because I wanted to prep for
it's free
Forever Faithful, but I haven't read the rest of Twilight of the Clans since high school, so.
Which is fair, because neither have I.
I just don't really remember Trent being a big deal.
The biggest scene that he has in the later series of Twilight of the Clans, or the later parts of Twilight of the Clans, is when him and Paul Moon meet, and I think it's at the end of the book before Prince of Havoc. I don't remember the names.
Shadow of War.
Yeah, Shadow of War, where the epilogue is them in a MASH field hospital when Paul Moon wakes up, and kind of wondering what's going on, and it's Trent sitting there talking to him.
I'm hallucinating. No, you're not.
Yeah, it's Trent talking to him, basically saying, you did this. This is your fault. And, that's how it ends with Paul Moon. That's the last scene we get with him for the rest of Twilight. And it's in my mind,
That's a good twist of the
Yeah.
knife ending.
That's the perfect ending right there. Is that there is no redemption for you. You get to live with your sins, kind of thing. But then we get forever faithful and just kind of that.
All I'm gonna say
You're
is
not
I'm looking
bitter at all, are
forward.
you?
I'm looking
I
forward
am.
to the third Star League with the Ill Clan era because I want to see how it all burns down.
I'm not bitter.
You mean Alaric's second Star League asterisk?
It's the third Star League.
I'm not bitter. You're bitter.
They could. It is the third Star League. There's the first one. There was the second one, and now this is the third. I can count. Because apparently he gets uppity about people calling it the second or the third.
Maybe he's counting the second Star League as 1.2.
No, he
counts
doesn't
it
actually
as-
acknowledge it.
Yeah, he doesn't acknowledge it at all, which is
Like it's a PR propaganda,
Yeah.
not legitimate thing.
Yeah, his Star League is far more legitimate because he's the true heir of the Star League. But it's like, really? Are you? Are you really the true heir of the Star League? Because like last time I checked, the Star League was made out of people from the Inner Sphere, not, genetically engineered wannabe super soldiers from...
I mean, to be fair, he is a Inner Sphere noble, genetically engineered progeny.
No, he's an incest baby.
You say tomato, I say tomato.
potato. You could fit at least three potatoes on that chin.
So, have you guys gotten to play any BattleTech recently?
I have
Since
not. I
we're
have
doing
been,
some chit chat for episode 100.
Not in person. That's mainly just I'm lazy and not wanting to leave and drive into town on the weekend.
Yeah, I haven't gotten a chance due to the fact that we've been on lockdown here in Korea. Now we're kind of off of it, and the guys I play with have been really hardcore back into playing Infinity. So that's what we played the last time I went up.
I've mostly been sticking to Megamech, but I did actually get to hang out with Remy in real life, so hopefully we can have an actual game once he's got a little more time and finishes up his school stuff.
But I am right now basing my Orloff Grenadiers because I finally got what I wanted to use for basing. So
I mean, I am getting stuff primed and ready for painting, so that's progress.
I mean, it's good progress.
Is Hobby Progress buying more models?
Depends on who you talk to.
If I talk to Mech Bay, they say yes. So I bought the Clan Command Star and the Comstar Command at level 2 when I got my Shalone.
I'm pretty sure last night while I was talking to them about going to Nova, which if any of these listeners out here are going to Nova, I will be there. I will be playing Horse Heresy, but if you want to come hang out and talk, I'll be playing Adeptus Titanicus. So, I will be playing a mech game, just not this mech game. A different mech game, but it'll be fun. So
this should be coming out on May 9th.
Yeah,
so I don't know
that's 3 months before Nova. Nova's not till end of September or beginning of September.
Okay, I was unfamiliar with when it ran, so just did the math real quick there.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Quick math.
But yeah, so I'll be there, and then I'll be at Gen Con. It'll be fun. I actually just picked up my I ordered from Fortress the Davian list. I plan to play for 350 at Gen Con.
Davian.
And the funny part is Andrew has been hitting me up being like, "Hey, when are you going to be back in Minnesota?" I'm like,
Wouldn't you like to know, Weather Boy?
Well, I'm pretty excited because it turns out that there apparently is a fairly large group of BattleTech players, and now that restrictions have been removed here in the state, they're starting to come back. And yeah, we had 15 people show up to the Alpha Strike training game I ran 2 weeks ago, and then we had 20 people show up for Classic today. So main problem is it's an hour away is where everybody goes to play. But I used to drive 2 hours when I was living in Arizona, so progress.
that's not bad.
I mean, people have been spoiled by the internet. What can I say?
The sound of progress.
And there's some interest. I might try running a kind of Alpha Strike grinder, thinking maybe you pay $20 to get in, you get 2 salvage boxes, and then if you get killed, you can buy a salvage box to buy back in, and we'll just grind Alpha Strike for 4 or 5 hours.
I've heard worse things for the weekend.
And I'm thinking, a great way get people exposed to Alpha Strike, but also encourage people to buy and build plastic armies.
So this will come out after the event, but there is my local expo at the end of this month, April, and I am unsure if going, and also apparently there's no Battletech content there, so it's like, is worth, shrug.
Well, get out and meet people. Wear your Battletech shirt and maybe somebody will recognize it.
I do actually just have to physically go one Sunday out to Ogre's Den, which is a local game shop, and apparently there is a very active tournament community there, which I was unaware of until after I had been doing this podcast for a year.
Happens.
Whoops.
The Battletech community is great and amazing, but one thing we need to work on is promotion and networking.
For real, though.
I love you all, guys. I did actually have a community experience. So I recently had a session 0 for a Vampire the Masquerade game, and the storyteller for that is also a Battletech fan, and we were talking, and at one point it was like, wait
just a gosh darn second.
Oh, you're that person. And I'm like, okay.
That's awesome.
You probably want me to leave, right?
Yes.
But, that's a community little thing, I guess, and that's neat.
Well, ain't that just neat?
Our sources for today are Sarna, Battletech Battlemech Manual, Master Unit List, TRO The Golden Century, TRO and Record Sheets Succession War, Sourcebook First Succession War, Handbook House Steiner, Solaris The Reaches, A Mech Warrior's Guide to Solaris 7, Solaris 7 The Game World, and all the novels we mentioned as we talked about as we gabbed at the end there.
So many novels.
So many good novels.
Hashtag the novels. I need to catch up on reading.
we should all just have like an extra day in the week just dedicated to reading. I could use that.
I gotta read Surrender Your Dreams. Since they reprinted it, I need to read it.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the Free Worlds League stuff to come out for Dark Age.
Well, I'm reading Surrender Your Dreams because it's supposed to have information pertaining to events that happen in that. So I'm like, ooh, finally can read this because I actually can get a copy of it.
Fair.
Because who doesn't want to know how the Republic decided to try to pit different sections of the Free Worlds League against each other by committing, planetary destruction?
Yeah, what better way
It's
to
not
get
planetary destruction. It's just tectonic remodeling.
There's a lot of people on that planet that didn't make it out.
A war crime by any other name?
A war crime by any other name still ends up just as many bodies. Love your Republic of the Sphere, but you guys did into some shade.
I was gonna shout out the guys running the campaign locally.
I will shout out my senpai, Charles Gideon Dirks.
And of course, the WolfNet community. This podcast wouldn't exist without them because, well, that's where we all met. So, for better or worse, you're all responsible for us.
Yeah, look what you've done. Look what you did.
I learned it from watching you.
Yeah, so I'd like to shout out Lauren, Monty, other Josh, the two Michaels, and everybody else who is hanging out at Gongai Games to play in this Tamar Pact campaign. A lot of fun.
Josh and other Josh.
Yes, there's two Joshes, two Michaels.
That doesn't get confusing at all.
No.
This podcast is made possible by our supporters on Patreon, link in the description. Our social media on Twitter is @OriginOfMechs. We have a community Discord, the Armory of Ouroboros, a link in the description. You can email us at ontheoriginofbattlemechs@gmail.com. If you enjoy the show, please leave a review on your platform of consumption, tell your friends, and share on your community platform of choice. Special thanks to my friend Treble for the intro and outro. Our Ace Pilot Patreons are John Keith III and Metal Ed. Our Field Marshal patrons are Field Marshal Stahlkater and Field Admiral Chiraneau. Class dismissed. Everybody have a great day.
Peace out, Mech Warriors.
Stay safe out there.
Have a good one. Oh, and New Avalon in the new year.
It's just like old times.
New Avalon in the new year. It'll happen one day, don't worry.
I had to sneak that in there before, in my old spot.
Module complete. System standby. Would you like to load the next module?
We then come to our pilot profiles.
My turn. Okay. Lieutenant Rashida Sugarfoot Hughie? Anyway,
But we are human, but we repeat ourselves.
my fragile sanity can only take so much more.
I'm sorry for interrupting you.
It's fine. Lieutenant.
Oh wait, there was something else I wanted to add at the end, and I'm blanking on what it was.
Talking about how great I am. You're welcome.
You are pretty amazing. Your intel briefings are great and very helpful to
10 out of 10 make me feel smarter every day.
2 Joshes, 2 Michaels.
That doesn't get confusing at all.
No.
What happens
no.
when you guys are together and having a good time?
Well, generally everybody's on Op 4. So, you got a good guy Josh and a bad guy Josh, a good guy Michael, bad guy Michael. Actually, I think that both Michaels are on the Merc Force, not Op 4. But...
So you're not joshing around then?
No, that joke came up, though.
Anyway.
I'm going to laugh so hard if they ended up making New Avalon the new year. Like, you guys actually get New Avalon, and it's going to be like the middle of July. In-universe.
But it'll get released in like December.
Oh no, they'll if they wanted to be the ultimate troll, they would also be released in July.
No. See, then what we do is we have the Davian Battle Pope consecrate a new calendar for the retaking of New Avalon.
No more calendars.
Yeah.
We already have 2. I don't need a third.
The Holy Davian Calendar.
Oh god.
Year 0 of liberation.
Not a reason to have a new calendar.
The anti-Draconic. Then we get to go into the anti-Draconis Crusades.
Oh god.
The burning of Luthien.
Oh boy.
The
That's
sack
not
of
gonna
New
cause any
Samarkand.
problems.
Do you know why Luthien's called the Black Pearl? Because we burned it down.
See? There you...
They almost burned it down. We burned it down the rest of the way.
Don't worry. The Turians will get theirs too. They'll get theirs.
Hey, they're actually kind of on good terms right now.
Actually, they are. So they're
focusing on getting their house in order, and they can be fine. Just don't poke anybody, and we're good.
Yeah.
I mean, we can always have some good pirate stories.
Yar.
Yar.
Fiddle-dee-dee.